The world has changed. America has changed. If something were to happen tomorrow, how self-sufficient would you be? Could you grow your own food? Could you sustain your own livestock? Could you survive? This is the We Grow Our Show with Nick and Don. Nick and Don talk about everything from politics to planting. They cover techniques, methods, and tips on how to not only survive, but thrive. Visit the website at WeGrowOurs.com. Lock and load. This is the We Grow Our Show. Get your grow on.
Welcome back to the We Grow Our Show. This time Don was ready for it. Didn't jump.
I didn't jump. I knew it was coming.
Oh, mission not accomplished. Well, this week on the We Grow Our Show, we are going to be talking a little bit about self-sufficiency in education.
Yeah, are we saying, hey, our goal is to empower people's independence, right?
That's
Empower
right.
your independence. Part of that is learning.
Got to learn stuff. And as most of you know, we don't always trust government programs.
That's a good way of saying it.
Yeah, it's not that government programs are bad per se, but there's got to be other options out there. I think that the real key to independence, other than educating yourself, is accepting accountability. I think that there's a lot of parents out there that kind of wash their hands of their kids, throw them into public schooling, and
Government schooling,
and they just expect the teachers to pump information into their heads, and that's where it ends. I don't know about your upbringing, but I was pretty much able to kind of fake my way through school and act like I knew what was going on half the time, and my parents weren't really... I mean, they were supportive. They asked if I needed help with my homework, but I was just not doing my homework, so
I never did it, so no. But you know how learned we are.
Oh, yeah. Books are good. I like the ones with pictures.
When was the last time you read a book, Nick?
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's what I thought. No need to expound on it.
Well, I got books on CD. Does that count?
No.
Okay, this is extremely inappropriate, but you guys need to Google search.
No,
come on. 50 Shades of Grey, read by, what's his name? The guy who plays Iago on Aladdin.
I have no idea.
He's got the scratchy voice like this. You know what I'm talking about? Do you know who it is?
I don't.
Anyway, he reads excerpts from the... Oh, gosh, I can't remember his name now.
All right, so this show is going really good, really fast here. How do we get to 50 Shades of Grey so fast from...
Because it's on my mind. What can I say?
We're going to have a really good guest joining us today. Tiffany with Imperfectly Happy.
That's right.
Is going to come on because she did go to school and actually did learn and all that stuff. And she's going to talk about homeschooling. We're going to ask her a bunch of questions. Now, I actually have 3 kids. We sent my oldest son through public school for the most part. My middle son went to public school, and we had some problems with him. He's got a type of autism called Asperger's. So he had some problems in the public school. He was bullied a little bit, and we actually decided to homeschool. And we moved to an online curriculum, which isn't technically homeschooling. And then we moved over to complete homeschooling. I love it. Mm-hmm. It's not for everybody. A lot of families have, 2 incomes and go to work and stuff. This is tough. Yeah. If you're going to homeschool, it's not like you could just say, okay, here's the school and you drop them off and pick them up later and you can have a job. I mean, it really takes a parent to be at home, and I don't fault anybody for not being able to do that. Mm-hmm. I think that if you can do it, then that's wonderful. If you can't do it, that's okay too. Try and supplement a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least be involved in your kid's education.
Oh yeah.
Bottom line, make sure that, go full Nazi and take their folders out. It's like, are you sure you don't have homework here, 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 and here? Because I know that when I have kids, I'm gonna be like, yeah, you can't BS a BSer.
Yeah, good point.
I know that there's homework. I was there. I remember lying to my folks about it. So, and one thing that my wife and I have considered is going in on with a bunch of other families and actually hiring a teacher. And I don't know, we'd have to have a lot more money than what we do now, but I mean, if you split the cost, $30,000 a year, and have how many families would that take to even the cost out? 15?
Yeah, teachers are so underpaid.
Yeah, they are.
They should get a lot more than $30,000 a year.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is like it would be room and board and everything else. It would be like a little compound thing
I was just
going.
Say, would you live in a compound?
Well, that's the goal, right? We all want to be like Waco.
Whoa.
Dude, we went from 50 Shades of Grey to homeschooling to Waco.
And now we got the FBI rating.
Hey,
if they go fast.
Listen, if they haven't been listening since the get-go, they just ain't doing their jobs.
And we know they have.
Oh my gosh.
So I believe this is episode 50, by the way.
Oh yeah.
So for anybody out there listening, if you haven't heard all 50 episodes, you can skip number 1, probably skip number 2, and go listen from episode 3 on, and I think you may enjoy it.
We ought to do that Black Soldier Flies episode again.
We really need to, and
Yeah.
we'll get we had Carl with the Biopod,
Mhm.
actually, that came on, and Black Soldier Flies, I love them.
Yes.
If you don't know, a black soldier fly is a grub that turns into a fly. It doesn't live in the fly state very long. It doesn't bother humans. It emits a pheromone that drives houseflies away. And the best part is they eat raw waste.
That is good. Now, the common housefly, is it true that it's eating the bacteria that's eating the waste, right?
Yeah.
It's eating like that slimy ick.
Well, it eats a lot of stuff, but
Mhm.
yeah, that's why they carry so much disease and everything. And then they fly around and they land on you and they poop and they stick their legs on you after they've been on poop.
Uh-huh.
And they do all that. Black soldier flies don't do any of that.
Nope.
In fact, when they're in the fly state, they don't eat.
They don't even have a mouth, right?
Right, so they don't poop
Well,
on
there
you.
go.
They go back. Their whole goal is to go from a grub. Oh, and get this, they're self-harvesting.
Yeah, that's the best part.
But this isn't a show on black soldier flies.
No, this is a revisit to what we should do in the near future to get a better audio version of the Black Soldier Fly episode.
Yeah, so we've talked about black soldier flies a few times, and I've actually gotten to teach at some of the Prepper Fests and stuff. But if you're interested, go back episode 2. I apologize for the audio, but you can go back, listen to that.
There you go. Well, for those just turning in, this is the We Grow Ours show. It's being broadcast on Independent Talk Radio, KFNX, 1100 AM. Did I say that right, Don? Holy cow,
You
I did
did.
something right. I'm not a failure, Mom.
I forgot we were on
Woo-hoo!
the radio there, and I was nodding. So.
Yeah, he's got the radio nod. It's perfect. So again, we're going to be talking about homesteading.
Homesteading.
Well, a key in homesteading, education.
Oh, I love
At
the
home.
save there.
Yeah, just shut up, Don. Making me nervous. Got me sweaty. We're talking about homeschooling today. So the pros, the cons, I don't know, maybe some misconceptions that are out there. If you have questions, go to wegrowours.com/ask us. And we're actually really good friends with the guests that we're going to have on today. And maybe we can do a follow-up show or a follow-up excerpt for another show.
Yeah, and we can get the questions answered regardless. So it's wegrowours.com/ask us. You can record the question, send it in via voice, or you can go ahead and email wegrowhours@gmail.com. You can ask us on Facebook, which is wegrowhours, or facebook.com/wegrowhours. There's also a send voicemail button on there if you want to record directly from Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter.
When did you do that?
Oh, about a year ago.
On the Facebook thing?
On the Facebook thing, yeah.
Man, I'm just not exactly perceptive, apparently.
Apparently not.
I
You don't go visit the page much.
No,
or
I
something.
do. I do, but it's on my phone. Does it not show up on the phone?
No, probably not.
Oh, that'd be why.
Yeah.
Stupid Facebook app.
Yeah, so you can go there. You can ask the questions on Twitter at twitter.com/wegrowhours or at wegrowhours on Twitter. We will get those questions answered for you, help you out with the answer. So if you have any questions about your local laws, things like that, feel free to ask that as well. Again, we're just going to kind of cover the pros and cons and have a conversation about homeschooling. Tiffany's going to be joining us from Imperfectly Happy. She's been homeschooling for a long time, and she blogs about this. She's done a lot of articles about it. She's been very good about posting and sharing information about it, but we're not law experts here. So if you're in a different
Consult your
state,
local law.
but some states you've got to be a registered teacher, have a certain amount of credits in order to teach your kids at home. It's not something here in Arizona, we're lucky because all we have to do is go down to the school and say, we're homeschooling. We unenroll them from school and we're finished. That's it. There's nothing else. Some areas of the country, I know in Florida, for example, you've got to register, you've got to go through standards, you've got to meet with a teacher or a principal who will come out and do testing or bring the kids in and do testing. So different states have different laws. Be sure and check your own laws.
So what you're saying, Don, is don't go full Judas Priest. Breaking the law, do. No? Okay.
No. So I think we should just get Tiffany on, let her
Okay.
talk about homeschooling. How's that sound, Nick?
Yeah. Get her on here.
What will you do when your stored supplies run out? Are you prepared? Hostile Hair provides equipment and education you need to control your own infinite food supply. We have live food storage systems for rabbits, quail, and other urban livestock for any situation and strategy. Don't be limited by what's on the shelves. Get started with an infinite food source today. Get prepped, stay fed with Hostile Hair. Call 480-331-3761 or visit hostilehair.com.
Lock and load. This is the We Grow Our Show.
Welcome back to the We Grow Our Show. On the line, we have Tiffany Davis of Imperfectly Happy. She's the local authority on homeschooling. How are you doing today, Tiffany?
Great. I feel a little intimidated now. Local authority. Yeesh, better be good.
Well, what I mean by that is you know a heck of a lot more about it than I do, and probably most of our listening audience. Not to underestimate the listening audience, but that's just not as common a thing as just public schooling.
Yeah, there's a lot of mist out there.
Mist? A lot of mist?
Yeah, a lot of mist.
A lot of water droplets suspended in the air? Or are you going for that TH word?
Yeah, that's
Sound
the
it
word.
out. Use your words,
Yeah,
Don.
There's a lot of fallacies out there about
Watch your mouth.
about homeschooling, Tiffany. So that's what we want to do is clear it up a little bit. We want to talk about kind of the motivation behind homeschooling. I know you do that. I'm a homeschooler as well. Well, I should say my wife homeschools as well. So let's kind of start there with the whole, why would anyone want to do this?
Well, I guess I can start with a little bit of my background. I was 19 and I read a book called The Lifestyles of Christian Women. And there was a chapter on this woman who homeschooled her kids. And I thought, wow, I didn't even know you could do that. And I think a little seed was planted when I read that book that I just knew that I was going to homeschool. And then, my oldest turned 5 and we put her in school. And I had already taught her how to read, and she certainly knew her shapes and colors and things like that. And these kids that were in class, they were still learning that stuff. And so I asked them, hey, can we, maybe put her in first grade, give her some, something that will motivate her to actually want to be here. And it was, absolutely not. You have to stick with the status quo. We're not changing anything. So I think for me, when we started, it was just to challenge my oldest daughter. She's super smart. She was already ahead of her classmates. Not that those kids weren't smart. They just hadn't been introduced to the same things that she had. But along the way, I think that changed for us, that we really wanted to be more influential in our kids' lives. We wanted to be the greatest peer pressure they had. Not that we're necessarily their peers, but we wanted to be the bigger influence than kids their own age. So we were reaching for their hearts, not just scholastic.
So, well, I think what you said there brings up probably the number one argument that I hear as somebody who homeschools. Well, if you pull those kids out of school, they're not going to have the social interaction that they need to learn how to get along with anyone else. And I know that's not true, but I want to hear you address it and how you address that.
Well, if they do not have the same social skills as their peers, then God bless them for it. Because have you spent some time with kids nowadays? They rarely look you in the eyes. Most of them don't have any manners. They couldn't speak to an adult and make much sense at all. So, yes, my kids are different. Now, my 9-year-old can hold on a conversation with pretty much anyone from, 9 months, if they're speaking, to 99. And they are entertained by her. They're engaged in the conversation. She's an interesting person. She, has something to say. So, yeah, their social skills are different, but they're not deficient in any way. And my kids have always participated in things outside of the house. I would say for homeschoolers, we're sure not home very much. Older kids were in speech and debate. We did scouting. They've been in drama. They've been in science co-ops, history co-ops. So we get around a lot of other people. The difference is, and I guess in the sense that, yes, they are like-minded for the most part, but they're certainly not being locked in a closet without any kind of interaction with anyone else. Does that answer your question?
I think you did a really good job of answering that. Along those lines, there's been arguments also that you get the bubble effect, meaning mommy and daddy are protecting the kid all the time, and the kid's not going to be able to make decisions. And then when it comes time for the little birdie to leave the nest, they're going to go straight to bad. They're going to break bad, if you will. Could you address that one?
I do think that there is a bubble. I think as parents, you better provide a bubble for your kids because this world is pretty harsh. And that's kind of our job, is to cushion the world. And then we reduce that as they get older. So, yeah, my elementary school kid probably doesn't know some of the things that your typical public school or even maybe private school kid does, because I do shield. I watch what they're watching. I watch what they're playing. I watch what they're reading. It's not that we don't have discussions. My kids know things that public school kids probably don't talk about really early. But as they're progressing, middle school, high school, by the time they're junior, senior years in high school, the bubble's down. If I haven't done my job by that point, it's kind of not going to happen. At that point, you have to give them enough freedom to make some decisions, to stumble and fall. And then hopefully, because you are homeschooling, you're there to scoop them up, talk them through the lesson, and dust them off a little bit, move them on. So, when you talk about the life lessons that you're learning on the playground, the bullying, I don't know that anyone could say, yeah, man, that bullying really helped my character. I really grew through that, torture through middle school. It was awesome.
Good point.
Well, there was one time I actually read an excerpt that you wrote that you basically likened a kid unto a car. You said, well, yeah, the first thing you should do with your brand new Beamer is go park it in a parking lot so there can be some shopping carts and some door dings and things like that, just so that the car knows how to handle it.
Yeah.
And I laughed so hard when you wrote that. Like, that is just so smart. Yeah. It kind of reveals your sarcastic attitude, though.
Sarcasm.
Yeah.
That's called lifeblood of homeschooling. That's how I get through it.
So I have another question to kind of follow all that up with. And I don't want to get into curriculums or anything yet. What I want to find out is, how do you I don't even know how to phrase this. Not everybody out there that homeschools is very smart. I find that a lot of people I run into in all walks of life, not just homeschooling, frankly, they're stupid. So how can a stupid person, maybe somebody like me, take my kid and actually teach them something and what they need to know at home? Because I'm not really good at that. I didn't do good at school. How can I expect to raise my kid better by homeschooling them?
Okay, well, I'm not going to, I don't want to say anybody's unintelligent, but I mean, you're going to have
a lot of unintelligent people out there, Tiffany.
Okay, granted, we're not all on the same level of education, whether we graduated high school or we have a master's or doctorate degree. There's different levels of education, but we all, for the most part, graduated. So we have already learned these things. And what I find is that when I'm teaching my children or have taught them, I relearn it, and I learn it in a more concrete fashion. Every year or every student, it gets a little bit easier. But if you still feel uncomfortable and you're still saying to yourself, this is not going to happen. I don't know how to break a sentence down for this kid. Teaching someone to read, is not in my skill set. There are so many things out there now that when I started homeschooling in 96, it was nothing. It was workbooks, textbooks. That's it. And that's fine. That works for some people, but not for everyone. There are computer programs. Even the public schools now offer a free public school option that you can do from home. I'm not saying that's an option I would necessarily want to use, but it's there.
Yeah, that's actually what we started with.
A lot of people did.
Yeah, that got us, over that, because I was a little bit afraid that, I married a very intelligent woman. I was smart enough to do that.
Oh, so she is listening.
I'm assuming. And she's a redhead too. So, I married a very intelligent woman, and she's the one that has said, you know what, I'm done with public school. We're not doing it anymore. I'm not going to let my kid be bullied like that. And we've got a semi-special needs child, which is really what got us on the path. We brought him home, and she looked at that curriculum and said, oh, my, this is just silly. Why don't we just do it? I can do it faster. I can do it better, and I can help him where he needs help and kind of guide him along that path. We don't need to concentrate on the things he's already done, because the math, my son has Asperger's. Math for him he's in calculus, and he's in, 7th, 8th grade. So that was a big thing for us.
Yeah, I think that a program like that can give someone a little more confidence. It can also get your family off your back, because, not everyone has a supportive family. I've been really lucky. I mean, from the get-go, my family was super supportive, and that was before pretty much anyone was homeschooling. So, I'm really, really lucky in that sense. But it can give you some padding, I guess. But there are a lot of other options, computer programs and video school and all kinds of things. And, tutors. We have so much available to us now as homeschoolers that really you don't have to be worried about your intelligence. And honestly, there are curriculums that will tell you exactly what to say. I mean, verbatim.
All right, Tiffany, we're gonna take a quick break, and then I want to get into those curriculums and those resources available out there, and kind of find out more about the technical aspects of homeschooling. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Tiffany Davis of Imperfectly Happy.
Things just got real. The drugstore is closed and the doctor is unavailable. What are you going to do? Stock your medicine cabinet and bug-out bag with nature's alternative, essential oils. Visit mylavenderlife.com for all your essential oil needs.
Lock and load. This is the We Grow Our Show.
Welcome back to the We Grow Our Show. We're talking with Tiffany Davis of Imperfectly Happy, and she's given us the lowdown on homeschooling. Previously, we talked a little bit about some misconceptions about homeschooling kids and maybe being bubble children and not getting the real-life experiences that public schools offer. And Tiffany, you've done a really good job of debunking that. So if you've missed that, I recommend going to WeGrowOurs.com and checking out the podcast. It'll be podcast 50 on there.
Yeah, you're episode 50. Congratulations, Tiffany.
Awesome.
So coming back from the break, we told before we're going to talk about a couple of the curriculums that are available and what is the path? Let's say I've got a kid, he's coming up to preschool, kindergarten age, and I need to make that decision. I need to make the decision to either go public schools or homeschooling. What do you recommend? What's the path? What's the first step?
This has really changed for me over the years because I was all about early education before, but honestly, I'm all about let them eat Play-Doh and finger paint and go to the park with you and learn through their living and their play, because there's so much that they can learn. There's so many studies now that show the importance of play in brain development. And honestly, their eye development is not really ready for some of that finer reading and things like that. But that, again, personal choice. If your child is begging you to read, and I did have one that did that, then, you can start with that. But as far as the progression, I think most of us have something, most homeschoolers that I've talked to have a spark. It's always there, and it's whether or not that, gets flamed, fanned and flamed up. And sometimes that's not going to happen until you have an experience in school that you don't like, and sometimes you're going to be a homeschooler from the birth of that child. I don't know that there's a progression necessarily. I'm not sure if I'm answering that the way you want me to, but
no, you're doing good.
It's really dependent on the family and really on your child, your student, how that's going to run. Don't start too early, though.
Okay. So I take it it's almost every homeschooler has hit kind of a pivotal experience where they're like, that's it, screw public schools. Am I right to assume that it almost takes a catalyst?
I think there are a lot of them that have had a super negative experience. There are great teachers in public school and private schools. I don't want to knock them. They are overworked and underpaid.
Oh, yeah, my mother-in-law is one of them. She's a great teacher, but underappreciated for sure.
It's a system that needs repair, not the teacher. But I can speak from my experience. As far as the progression, and we're talking about like curriculum and what you're going to study, I think most homeschoolers, we start out with the idea that we're going to recreate school in our home. So we buy a little desk and we sharpen pencils and we have, a little pencil box and, everything's set up like a first day of school would be. And we might even go out and buy a chalkboard. Not that I did that. Yes, I did. I totally did that. So a lot of people are going to have that chalkboard mentality. They're going to put a chalkboard up. I did it. Not embarrassed to admit it. I did it. I think a lot of us want to recreate school, but it isn't going to take very long to figure that out, or to figure out that that's not going to work long term. Not for most of us, because we've got laundry to do and grocery shopping that needs to be done, and the dog needs to be taken care of. And if you're at my house, there's chickens and gardens and rabbits and all kinds of stuff that need to be, tended to it on top of that. And so recreating a school atmosphere where you're going to school for this time to this time doesn't usually work. And honestly, I can school my daughter, my youngest is in third grade. I can get her school done in about an hour and a half if we're not doing some kind of hands-on project.
Really?
So,
and in that hour and a half, then can you just continue to review it throughout the day and just kind of apply the lessons, or is it like an hour and done? Now it's time to go play.
Well, don't we apply school everywhere we go? We read things. Hey, what's that sign say? Hey, I've got 2 apples and I need 1 more. How many is that going to be? Can you please weigh this? How many pounds is that? We forget how much we use the basics every single day in our life. Now, when you get into algebra, that may be a little, rough to teach in a life experience sort of way. But when you're talking about elementary school, yeah, you're reviewing it all day long. They just don't know it. Hey, let's read a book together. Can you read this sentence for me? That's how my kids really, their reading really improved.
We found the same type of thing. I mean, you're going out and taking, I've got a 10-year-old who can count back change. And I find that he's teaching some of the cashiers how to count back change because they don't know, because they haven't had that real world experience, and it may not be something that's taught in school. No fault of the teachers, probably more fault of the school itself and the curriculums and everything else. I'm not real fond of government schools, and I think that they miss some of the big points out there. Some of the stuff that when you are homeschooling, you can go out. We go to the Children's Museum of, the Phoenix Children's Museum is a great example. You've got such a learning potential going through a museum for 2 hours, and you can do that once a month and learn something new every time. You can go to the grocery store and say how much, what's the better buy, the big one or the little one, and break that down to a per ounce price, things like that. So I totally agree with you on that, Tiffany.
I think that, again, whether it's the government or the private schools, there's a system breakdown. That can be governmental, and then I'm not a big fan of that because I want to instill my values in my kids. And I think that's something we lose when we send our kids away for 8-10 hours a day.
Well, I know that a lot of states have laws, and I was talking about this before we had you on the air, that there's places like Florida, they have standards that even homeschool kids have to meet. Now, in Arizona, we're a little bit different, but do you go to a curriculum for some of your bases, especially as your children get older and maybe reach that late elementary school or high school, middle school? What curriculums are you using, and what resources do you have to help those that may be interested in homeschooling at that age?
Well, I think it's going to vary depending on the subject. Math, to me, is a concrete textbook thing. It has always worked for my kids, but we do use a curriculum called Math UC, which is very hands-on. You're using blocks, and he teaches it in a way that A concrete learner can learn it, and an abstract learner can. It's 2 levels. So yeah, as far as math, I've always used a curriculum. When it comes to things like history, geography, those sort of things, I like to use real books, chapter books, and I like to integrate things. So if we're going to study kings and castles, then we're also going to do a project on maybe how do they build castles during that time. How would you become a knight? So we're going to dive into that level a little deeper. I really like Tapestry of Grace. I've used it for the last, I think I've used it for about 10 years now. It might not be quite that long, but it's a unit study, but it's also based on the classical approach. So you have 4 levels of learning. Every student is learning the same thing, but they're learning at their level. So you're not trying to teach Egypt to your high schooler and American history to your 4th grader. And I think that's really, for sanity purposes, it helps a lot. But it also helps the kids have discussions about the things that they're learning, because they're learning the same thing. And your older students can, be helping and encouraging the younger students. When you're talking grammar, reading, things like that, it really depends on how your child learns. I've used 100 Easy Lessons. I put that on my blog too, why I still love it. A lot of people, it's not their favorite. It's kind of bland. It's kind of boring, but you're talking about a 20-minute lesson for 100 days, and your kid is usually reading at about 3rd grade level. I think that would probably be appropriate. That there's curriculum for every walk of life. Some people, in Arizona, yeah, we have some guidelines that we have to follow, but it's nothing like Florida. It's nothing like some of the eastern states. We do have a lot of freedom.
I have another question for you before we have to let you go here. We're coming up on a break. Do you track your kids' progress? So when it comes time to college, you've got something to hand them?
Not until they're in high school. And nothing written down. And when my kids get to junior, senior level, I try to get them into a community college for, if not all of their learning, at least half of it. So they start to get into that idea that someone else is going to teach them. They're getting that higher education. It makes it a lot easier when they're applying to college, that they've already been in a college setting. And community colleges have things called concurrent learning, where you're under 18, you're still in high school, but you're learning on campus. Or you can do online learning. It's the same idea. So some of them call it dual enrollment, but I don't think you really need to worry about as far as keeping records, depending on your state, until they're really in high school, because it's not going to matter for a college situation.
So when you do get to the end of junior, senior year, do they take a GED test, or is it an actual high school test? It's an actual high school diploma? No test. As long as they've completed the curriculum, then they graduate. They do take SAT or ACT tests, so they've passed that. Before they do that, if they want to go into community college, they have an AccuPlacer in a community college level that they can take, and it'll place them in the right level of math and English and reading. Well, Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us. That's all the time we got right now. You can go to Tiffany's blog at imperfectlyhappy.com.
What will you do when your stored supplies run out? Are you prepared? Hostile Hair provides equipment and education you need to control your own infinite food supply. We have live food storage systems, rabbits, quail, and other urban livestock for any situation and strategy. Don't be limited by what's on the shelves. Get started with an infinite food source today. Get prepped, stay fed with Hostile Hair. Call 480-331-3761 or visit hostilehair.com.
Lock and load. This is the We Grow Our Show.
Welcome back to the We Grow Our Show. You okay, Don?
Yeah, you almost made me fall out of my seat.
Mission accomplished. Anyway, if you're just tuning in, you missed a heck of an interview with Tiffany Davis, but you didn't really miss it because it's on WeGrowOurs.com. This is episode 50. So we've done 50 episodes.
I know. Can you believe it?
Man, this is awesome. Anyway, Yeah. So if you want to learn, if you want to learn about homeschooling, listen to the rest of the episode. Like I said, weagerrs.com/episode 50 will get you here.
Yep.
But anyway, if you're tuning in on AM radio, well, keep on keeping on, truckers.
Well, they can go visit the website after the episode too.
Yeah, just not while you're driving, please.
Yeah, and
18-wheelers, keep your eyes on the road.
I think they know that.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know if our audience is truckers on Sundays.
I figured that's who's rolling through town.
So. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, homeschooling. I've been doing homeschooling. My wife has been homeschooling our children for a long time. It's a lifestyle. We've chosen to try and do this. My wife is a massage therapist, so she schedules work at night. Kind of that self-employed thing. She does all sorts of things, but she does it around the kids' schedules. And it actually is nice because we can do that. So our kids have certain chores they have to do, things like animal husbandry. They feed the quail, they feed the chicken, they milk the goats. They each have their day of doing this. And that's part of homeschooling too. And then we actually use what's called the Robinson curriculum. We've found that it works really well because we get things like the adventures of Tom Sawyer, and you can go out and they can read this. We get the vocabulary that goes along with it, the geography that goes along with it, the history that goes along with it. And it's just a phenomenal way of doing things. Now, that's not math. We actually have a separate curriculum for math. We use the Saxon math, probably the same math you used in school.
I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention.
I bet you it was.
Oh, okay.
Real math.
It was funny you mentioned Tom Sawyer. One of my favorite things about that book was the sinking of the F. Scott Fitzgerald. This random riverboat that sank. And it's like, oh, F. Scott Fitzgerald. What does that have anything to do with anything? Here, there was a writer back in the same time as the writer of Tom Sawyer, Mark Twain, and the two of them had opposing views. So Mark Twain sinks him in his book. I just thought it was awesome.
And see, that's something as a homeschooler you can use.
Mm-hmm.
You can take a little tidbit of that and say, go find how this fits in.
Mm-hmm.
What was he referencing then, and why? And go back, and that opens up all these doors. So it's really cool. So that's a Robinson curriculum. We actually also use Ron Paul's curriculum a little bit. Ron Paul's curriculum is free up to I think 8th grade.
Wait, Ron Paul the politician?
Ron Paul the politician. Yeah.
Not Rand Paul?
I'm a big fan. No.
Stop you.
No, not Rand Paul. Ron Paul, big fan of his. He's actually got a homeschool curriculum.
Oh.
And most people aren't aware of that, but he's very passionate about homeschooling.
Well, I guess it makes sense. I mean, he's
Libertarian?
yeah. It's one of those apples fall from the tree kind of thing, I
You
guess.
mean Rand?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm following you. I don't know that any of the listeners are.
You referenced him a minute ago. Come on, people, stay with it.
Yeah. So
this isn't all that complex because I ain't all that complex.
there's a lot of resources out there for people. Like I said, animal husbandry. You learned it growing up.
Yeah, it was part of life,
And it's not anymore for a lot of people.
Yeah, we're disconnected from where our food comes from. And we've talked about this before, but what better way to get your kids? I mean, you can do a whole lot of math. You buy a couple of rabbits, you tell them what they're expected to do, and that's a big healthy math problem. I'll tell you that.
Well, and it's actually one of the things in the Ron Paul curriculum is that as they get older, they develop a business. That's actually part of the curriculum.
Really?
Is you're supposed to develop a business. You're supposed to come up with an idea, come up with a business plan, then move forward on how to take that, what problems it solves, how to do it, and move that through. So one of the goals is by the time they graduate high school, they've actually got a fully fledged business plan and business running.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of neat.
That is really neat.
My middle son is working on his business right now. And he's working on a foreign exchange program that's a virtual program of foreign exchange. So he's putting together all of these plans as to how to do it and creating an online website and the whole thing. So we can modernize. It doesn't have to be. It's not just the adventures of Tom Sawyer. it's not just that stuff. It's how you tie that all into to today's world. They use their computers a lot. They use their iPads a lot, not just for YouTube. Although my youngest son, that's how he wants to do his business, is actually a YouTube channel. And he's got to say, okay, how do we get viewers? What kind of, games are out there? So he's out there researching even when he doesn't realize it sometimes.
That's what's cool is when it becomes a game and they're learning from it.
Yeah, and it requires math. He says, I want to make $3,000 a month. Okay, well, how many viewers do you need to do that? How much advertising do you need to do? What's the cost?
I don't know that.
Well, it's customer acquisition cost. It's all business. So it's a lot of fun to go out and do that. And Tiffany, I think, helped us dispel a lot of the myths. Mm-hmm. I said it right this time.
Yeah, you did.
That are out there with homeschooling. And we do want to have a bubble around our kids, but at the same time, we want to teach them to be, good members of society.
That's right.
And to answer your question, we actually, my middle son will be dual enrolled in community college. So when he graduates homeschool, he'll actually be graduating with an associate's degree as well.
I don't even have an associate's degree.
Yeah, and it's only a 2-year program. So he's actually next year, he'll be enrolled in community college.
Wow.
Along with high school. He gets a homeschool diploma. That's something that we give him with that 4 years of curriculum and planning and grading behind it. So if anybody questions it, any schools question it, he's already contacted MIT to find out how they deal with homeschooling so we can make sure we go the right way. So he wants to go to MIT. And there's tons of scholarships out there, too, for these kids that are homeschooled.
I don't mean to offend you, Don, but I think this kid's smarter than you.
Oh, he is. You've met him.
Good thing he takes after Mama, huh?
You better believe it.
No, I have met him. It's cool because my nephew, he has high-functioning autism, which is, I believe they stopped calling it Asperger's. But
yeah, they did. It's now a high-functioning autism.
But it's funny because they have very similar. Once there's a rule pattern established, do not deviate from the rules. This is gospel now. I mean, that's how they.
You have to be careful with it because it can really affect things at home. Your bedtime is, electronics have to go off at 8, and you have to be in bed by 9. Yet when you put a rule like that down, when they're out and they go to maybe a special event or a sleepover, they're screaming at everybody to turn their electronics off. It's 8 o'clock, dang it. I need electronics off or I'm going to go, I'm upset now and I don't know what to do. And now the world is spinning on them. So it's really, you've got to be careful with your structure as well. And it's different bringing up somebody with high functioning autism. He's a brilliant kid.
Yeah.
You've just got to be careful about things like that as you do it. And that's something we can integrate into homeschool as well. That's the whole point. He was the reason we took our oldest out and we actually started homeschooling all of our children.
How was it going from public school to homeschooling with your oldest? A little bit of kickback?
Yeah, he was in high school anyway. He hates school. He hated it with a passion. He was not doing well in school. And we basically brought him out of sophomore in high school, mid-sophomore year, and said, okay, well, it's working great for your brothers. Come home and do it. Here's the curriculum and, go through this. He finished that in about 6 months, all the way through high school. Just, okay, I'm done. So there wasn't a whole lot for him to do. He knew already that stuff. He got terrible grades in high school because he hated it so much. He hated the social aspect of it as well. Mm-hmm. So bringing him home, he concentrated on it, got through that. And yeah, he hasn't done the potential of what he has to do, but he's working on it. He's got problems of his own too, so we all do.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't going to alleviate all problems, but the guy knows how to feed and water the goats and the rabbits and everything.
That's one of his chores is he goes out, just like my little one, and my wife goes with him and milks a goat. My oldest, he knows how to go out and milk the goat. He knows how to pull weeds too. He knows what hard work is too in order to stay at home and eat. These are lessons that we need to teach.
That's funny. Well, for those of you just tuning in, this is the Uyghur War Show on KFNX 1100, Independent Talk Radio.
See, that's right. I think you kind of got it a little backwards.
I got it backwards, but I did it on purpose to see if you were listening.
I wasn't.
No, you weren't. Nope. It was the crap-eating grin that I gave you that
That's
you
right.
knew.
Well, thank you all for listening. We're going to give you the website one more time. So it's wegrowours.com. This is episode 50. You can go listen. If you've missed any portions of this, go back. We talked about homeschooling, dispelled the myths around it, and I did it. I said it right that time.
I don't know. That sounded kind of misty to me. You got to throw an H
It's
in
that
there, bro.
Jersey accent.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
I thought you
but
were
I'm
just a
gonna
little
blame it on
special.
that. I am. I'm very special. So we're going to go to the website. You can catch anything you've missed over there. Go look at the consulting page if you're interested in having Nick and I come out. Support the show. Have us come out and teach you how to raise your own livestock. And we'll give you all the resources we have. Let you know how to get everything set up. Again, wegrowours.com/askus for any comments, questions, feedback. Record your questions.
That's right. We'll make you famous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kinda.
And Facebook.com/wegrowours. Go join us. Like us. Is that what it is? Like us and hit that button to make it so we have more likes.
There you go. Thanks for not making that awkward at all, Don. That was good.
No problem.
Well, thank you guys. We'll catch you next week. So long.